Welcome to Inside R&D. I'm your host, Rich Hagen. Take my hand, and together we'll explore the dark and dangerous mystery that lies at the heart of Shadows over Innistrad.
Okay, so we're going back to Innistrad!
Innistrad is Magic's take on Gothic horror. It's a world of dark, dangerous things lurking in the shadows, ready to consume your body, blood, or soul.
As a creative, Innistrad is a ton of fun. It's probably just the moodiest of all the planes we have to play with.
Some members of the Shadows over Innistrad design team had worked on the original Innistrad, and some weren't even with the company at the time. But everyone knew what Innistrad was, what it meant, and was just in it, in the world immediately.
So one of the things that we wanted to do was, when last we left, Avacyn had been restored. Things were going to be great again. But when we went back, we knew that we didn't really want to revisit Avacyn Restored. We wanted to revisit Innistrad. That's what people really had fallen in love with. And that meant things couldn't be good. When things are good, that's not Innistrad at its best.
So to make the plane feel different this time, we wanted the angels to sort of be the bad guys. So we needed them to kind of have a slant where they go mad. So our white angels from previous Innistrad now are turning red in some kind of overzealous rage where they're smiting anything that could be evil and not necessarily everything that is evil.
It would be cool to see Avacyn in almost any color, but to see specifically Avacyn turn from very orderly, very protective, very defensive, very balance-oriented in white to flip and be just the polar opposite in red. Like that conflict, the order and chaos conflict, is central to Magic, and it was central to Avacyn's character development. It took a lot of effort and there was a lot of iteration, but as soon as each individual element got locked in, eventually it made a cohesive package. But like, it didn't come out as just, oh, here's what it does, top down. Like, there were a lot of cards that came out of just a single concept and it was sold. And in design, that's sometimes referred to as brain to print. Like, someone says it, came out of their brain, makes it all the way to print. But Avacyn it was important to look at each individual ability and have it make sense as a whole package. And the process was a lot of fun to watch it come to fruition.
Planeswalker design is incredibly challenging. They have a ton of moving pieces, it's very numerical. They are obviously intended to hit high-level constructed play. So in the past, they have been just created by the development team. Now, we're looking at a more cooperative approach where a specialized mini-team made up of a designer, a developer, and a creative team rep get together and forge the initial designs that eventually become the polished Planeswalkers that we print.
We knew we wanted to do a mystery story, and the idea is, okay, we have the Gatewatch. Who in the Gatewatch made the best sense to lead a mystery story? Well, how about the guy obsessed with information? Like, here's the guy, Jace. The key to Jace's character is he's somebody who wants to know everything but can't. He doesn't even know his own past. So like, he's the perfect person. Like, no one would obsess on a mystery like Jace. And so he was the perfect protagonist.
Jace's ultimate does something that normally a Planeswalker can't do. Because a Planeswalker's loyalty abilities are usually at sorcery speed, normally they can't counter a spell. Jace is sort of the ultimate blue mage. It's kind of weird that he's never been able to counter spells before. And this makes an emblem that allows you to counter the first spell your opponent casts each turn. So it allows Jace to finally do the major blue thing that blue gets to do, which is counter spells, and I think it's pretty awesome.
Innistrad is really a homecoming for Sorin. This is the place where he's from, this is where he's got so much history. Obviously he created Avacyn, and we knew this version of Sorin really had to be kind of the biggest version of Sorin. This is the version that he's gone out, he's looked for Ugin, he has come back to find his home really just kind of ripped apart and destroyed, literally just ripped apart and destroyed. And he's kind of out for revenge. He is kind of gotten himself as strong as he can, and he's looking to, punish whoever has done this.
So Nahiri as a character, we've seen glimpses of, little glimmers, stories. We've seen her on the Magic website, in the fiction. We've seen her in a past Commander set. But this is the first time you get to see her in a booster release in Shadows over Innistrad, and she's not happy. We saw her last time, she was mono white, she was this great lithomancer making weapons, But this time around, she's out for vengeance. She has corrupted Soren's manor, she has caused some deep stirrings on the plane, and really, she's up to kind of no good. What no good? You'll have to wait to find out.
The most fun part about Nahiri, I think, is her ultimate. Oh shoot, we can't talk about that yet, can we?
Back in original Innistrad, we actually made a werewolf planeswalker. And what happened was the creative team at the time said, oh, wait, you're going to make a double-faced planeswalker? Oh, Garrick gets cursed, that's perfect. Let's use Garrick. I'm like, okay, well, it was cool to make a werewolf planeswalker. Like, oh, it makes a lot of sense. So we made Garrick, we had him get cursed, and we made that card. So when we came back to Innistrad, they're like, you know, remember that werewolf planeswalker? That might be interesting.
Arlen Cord was a bit of a challenge. We've done quite a few red-green planeswalkers in the past, and so making sure that she felt different from Xenagos and Domri Raid and people like that was a bit of a challenge, but you know, it was pretty clear that once we were going to do a werewolf planeswalker that it wouldn't be too hard to make her different. So she could be a human on one side and a wolf creature on the other. We wanted her to feel like she was leading a pack of werewolves, so she made wolf tokens. And we wanted her to be unique among werewolves in that she can control her transformation. So she's not a slave to the phases of the moon or however many spells you've cast, but she gets to decide when she transforms into a wolf or back into a human.
Odric, you know, had his card, and people loved that card. And Odric was this close to getting killed. We were like, is Odric gonna die in this next episode? You know, when we go back to Innistrad, does something happen to him? And the sort of unanimous vibe was like, no, Odric's awesome. We gotta keep him. So Olivia Valdarin, like, people love her. She had this awesome illustration. She's this wicked, cool vampire. So yeah, there's a lot of love for these characters. Sigarda, super awesome angel. Everybody wants to like know more about her. So we have a limited number of cards. We have a limited number of spaces, and we're like, so anybody who gets a card has a lot of love in the company. Like, we really, to actually pay that off on a card means that we want the fans to know more about this character. We want the fans to play with it.
We pick up the story of the Gatewatch directly after Zendikar, with Jace arriving here looking for Soren Markov. He has some unanswered questions about the Eldrazi on Zendikar, and Ugin has pointed him in this direction. So he shows up in a world that has started going crazy again. With Avacyn back, things were okay for a while, but now the angels seem to have turned against the humans they were supposed to protect. So that's the world in which Jace finds himself, and the context for his search for Soren.
One of the things that's really changed when we made the big pivot to the two-block world was we really doubled down on story. We really wanted story not just to exist, but be ingrained in the set, in the cards in a very visceral way. So one of the things we started doing with Battle for Zendikar is what we call pivotal moments. That there are 5 cards that show the main beats of the story, and that they're represented on the cards so you can see the story through the cards themselves.
The first pivotal event where we are shining the story spotlight is the Madness of Avacyn, where we see the backdrop of the world as it stands now, the angels having turned on humanity and their wrath as they try to purge the sin from the world. Apparently, at least that's how Avacyn's church is understanding their actions.
Declaration in Stone was a total home run in terms of design, development, and creative, and it was something where you look at a pivotal event and the magic card that represents that pivotal event matters, where this is Nahiri going to Soren's home, not his home plane, his actual home, and imprisoning his bloodline in stone. And it just says, I was here, here's what I've done, this is the power that I wield, you need to deal with me on my terms. The card is very powerful, it uses a lot of set mechanics, and it let us do something that, like, we saw the art, we saw the concept, we heard what creative was going to do with it, and to be able to put that on a magic card was a lot of fun.
The card Epiphany at the Drown Yard reflects Jace's arrival at the coast of Nephalia at this Drown Yard, and of course he has an epiphany there. And what he finds, it's kind of after a long string of investigations that he has done on the plane, he finds that something is amiss. he sees this ring of cryptoliths, all pointing in this one direction. He's been following cryptoliths from across the provinces of Innistrad to this one point. It is crackling with energy. Angels are wheeling above this whole thing, and zombies are trudging through the water to create this thing. And for Jace, he realizes that it's bending the ley lines of the plane. These cryptoliths are bending the ley lines of the plane to this focal point. In the piece Avacyn's Judgment, we see this conflict between Avacyn on one side, this imposing figure that was once this guardian angel, now kind of bearing down on Jace and Tamio. It's this wonderful piece of art, and it reflects the moment in the story where Jace and Tamio have kind of tracked all of these mysteries to this place, Thraben Cathedral, and it is here that Avacyn confronts them.
We learned previously that Avacyn was made by Soren Markov as a way to maintain a predator-prey balance between the vampires and the humans of this plane, which didn't win him any friends among the vampires. So in this story, Soren is grappling with the ramifications of what he's done. She's kind of upsetting that balance at this point. And he is forced at the end of the story to undo his act of creation.
There's one thing I would say Shadows of Innistrad has gotten right more than anything else. It really is the flavor and the world that's going on here. I think more so than most sets we do, Shadows is a great melding of great stories that play fun, of great creative that really is being highlighted on all the cards, and just a whole atmosphere that really draws you in and gets you excited about playing Magic.